That was easy. That was clever.
Somebody brought us a rubber chicken. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see a room full of happy, smiling faces. We are saddened today to learn of the passing of Colonel Roger Talmadge. A good Kiwanian passed away last week. His funeral service was last Saturday at First Baptist Church. A card is being passed for Roger's family. Those attending the Capital District Mid-Year in Arlington this weekend will represent us well. That's, let's see, High Nicely is going. John is going, but as the, and Joyce. And Don Witt is going. And David and Sherry, and April Farmer is here. She'll be there as well. So it'll be a good contingent representing us there. Thanks to Andre Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a director. John and Andre worked really hard on this year. I particularly like the cover. Also, John Edwards isn't here today, but I wanted to thank and congratulate him on 28 years plus of service in the Virginia House of Delegates and the Senate. He has announced his retirement. It was in the paper on Tuesday. It was in Tuesday's paper. You've seen that. Good guy. He will be missed. We put the bug in Stephanie Moon Reynolds' ear about this.
Billy.
We also received a really nice card from Billy Benson, thanking us for reaching out to him. Today, the call for introspection will be Dave Spangler. Our song leader will be Dave Perry. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be Rhonda Perdue. Dave? They sneak up behind you when you're not looking.
Well, you'll be glad to know I'm not going to sing today. I can sing in the shower, but I can't sing like Brother Milton, who's not here.
Dance.
Yeah, so I can dance, yes. But because I'm not going to sing to you, I thought I'd bring a substitute. And many of y'all, I'm sure, have heard the song by Josh Groban, "You Lift Me Up." So just a few seconds of it.
Raise me up. I am strong and I
So that's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to mention, I've already talked to Joe Gator about it. And several of you maybe have already seen it, but yesterday I saw the movie The Jesus Revolution. It's about the hippie movement from the late 60s, early 70s. Many of you may not remember that, but anyway, it is a phenomenal movie. It started Friday. They said it would make about $7 million the first weekend. It doubled that. And it's on at both Valley View and Tanglewood. And I'm not a movie critic, but I loved it. And I would make one recommendation. If you go to see it, I would highly encourage you to do it. Take a handkerchief or some hankies. It's phenomenal. So ends in introspection.
Thank you, Dave. Mr. Perry. All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I knew that was gonna happen. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, make sure you guys are awake. All right, well, it's the first day of spring. It's meteorological spring, March 1st. It's not astronomical spring. That won't come until the spring equinox, which is, I think, the 21st of March. 21st, right? So it's on the calendar, and according to the weatherman, it's the first day of spring. And Major League Baseball is holding spring training now. So we're getting baseball scores and that kind of thing. So it's only appropriate that we sing a couple of verses and a couple choruses of Center Field by John Fogerty, which is probably the baseball song. I mean, if there ever was one. So there are words on in the middle of your tables, and we'll get it fired up here. I'm going to follow in the other Dave's footsteps and play it over the microphone. So you'll have an intro. You'll recognize the song right away. Don't worry. Here we go. Beat the drum, hold the fun. The sun came out today. We're born again, there's new grass on the field. Around and third and headed for home. It's a brown-eyed, handsome man. Anyone can understand the way I feel. So put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Look at me, I can be center field. Second verse. Well, I spent some time in the Mudville now, watching it from the bench. You know, I took some lumps when the mighty K struck out. So say, hey, Willie, tell Papa and Joe DiMaggio, don't say it ain't so, you know the time now. Oh, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Look at me, I can be center field. All right, round of applause for spring and baseball season.
Thank you, Dave.
Hello, everyone. Please say the pledge with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Just a quick show of hands. Who thinks we should bring back the rubber chicken? Well, I see one. That's overwhelming support. I think. Introduction of guests today are being done by Bert Boyd. Bert, thank you.
I'm going to ask our guests to stand along with their sponsors if they're present. June House here from Healing Strides. She's been hosted by Lee Osborne. Keith Hartman from the Virginia Council of CEOs, sponsored by Kevin Reeder. Joanne Wilson, wife of Don Wilson. April Farmer, our Lieutenant Governor for District 15. Glad to see you here. Beth O'Brocta, wife of Michael O'Brocta. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today and hope that you enjoy the meeting and gain something from it.
Go ahead.
I was,
Don't get the man's way.
one of the other things I was asked why I joined Kiwanis, and just a couple of little things. The first reason I joined was because I was first asked. Kiwanis has always kind of been on the periphery and never really knew how to connect with them. Already saw it doing positive things, but I was asked by Rupert and then Bill Beskovich. So I think the main reason why I'm here is because I was asked. Somebody saw that something in my makeup fit with Kiwanis, and I think that's true. So I'm glad to be a part of Kiwanis.
Right. Thank you, Bert. Something I asked at the my initiation, I guess it was, is to ask people to find their why. Why are you here? Why are you here? One of the great things we get to do as Kiwanians is hand out money that belongs to other people. Today, we're doing a grant to Healing Strides. Mike and Beth O'Brocta would come forward, and Bob Haberman will make the presentation.
Thanks, President Ben. And Mike and Beth, we're lucky to have both of them. They're going to tell us a little bit about Healing Strides, and then June is going to tell us what she's going to do with the money. And Mike and Beth.
So the best thing I can do is introduce my wife. And that's what I'm done.
Okay. Well, I'm Beth O'Brocta, as many of you know, and Mike asked me to say a couple words because I volunteer for Healing Strides. And I just wanted to say that the reason I knew about the organization is because last year, when June came to receive the grant, and Lee Osborne spoke about his daughter Betsy, who works there, I was so amazed at what they actually do that I decided when I returned in the fall that I would volunteer. And it has been one of my greatest pleasures. It is a phenomenal institution. What they can do for veterans, for children with disabilities is amazing. And in 5 months, I've witnessed both the development of a veteran and also the great emotional and physical development of a little Down syndrome boy in just 5 months. So if you don't know about it, please listen to June, Google it. It's phenomenal. And the people there are great. June?
Thank you so much for honoring us with this gift. We are planning on using the money for our crops. Crops are a very important part of the process of working with our therapeutic riding participants. The crops really help to engage the children and even the adults in their interactive experience with the horses. So it's all about the horses. We can talk about the skills that we're teaching as the children and adults ride the horses, but it's really about the emotional connection and the horses are huge motivators for those who are coming into our organization, maybe not knowing what to expect, but immediately whenever they see the horses and they engage with the horses. It is just a phenomenal experience. And a child that maybe is fearful and unsure of their abilities to ride, all of a sudden the horse has a way of leveling those concerns and those worries that they have. And we see such improvement in their physical development, their emotional development, and cognitive development. It is an amazing thing. We couldn't do it without our volunteers, so I will do the pitch. We need volunteers always. It's a big operation. We have about 150 lessons per week. We serve over 300 individuals throughout the year. So it's a big operation with 30 horses on the property and 34 staff members. So we need those volunteers and we need the support that Kiwanis gives us. So thank you very much.
Bob's gonna give you some money.
Well, we're all dancing.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Today, we have with us our Lieutenant Governor, April Farmer, who's come all the way from Forest. She has asked for a minute or two time, so April, hustle up here.
Thank you so much. And again, it's always a pleasure to be here. And I know, again, I'm a broken record when I brag on you folks, but congratulations for being such an amazing club and everything that you do in the community, your attendance at the meetings. You guys really are a success story. And in fact, one of the things I'm doing here today is trying to recruit some of you potentially to attend a meeting that we're doing in Whittle, April 22nd. It's a regional roundup. I think the last time that there was one of those was probably in 2019 before COVID. But if you can't make it to Decon or International and so forth, it's kind of like a little miniature convention. It's a great fellowship and networking opportunity and learning experience. So if there's an officer that wants some additional training, or if you would like to be an officer and learn more about Kiwanis, if you're a new member, it's a fantastic opportunity. Governor Jim Wolf is also going to be down that day, as well as some other folks from the district. But we're going to have training, not just for Kiwanians, but Key Club and Circle K as well. So those are welcome to join, and there will be a lot of information coming out very shortly about that, and it's a very low cost opportunity, and it takes place from about 9:15 to about 3 that day. But we would love to have anyone attend, so keep your eyes out for that. And I'm hoping that some people in this room will actually even participate as a best practice of what a great club looks like, because you guys do such good work, not just with the projects and your meetings, but all of your committees do such a phenomenal job, and you really are just a great example of what good looks like, whether it's membership recruiting, your marketing efforts. So thank you for being so awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, April.
Announcements today. Sign up sheets for Jersey Boys is on your table. That's a reception at the museum before wine. Amy's preparing some really wonderful snacks and things like that. $48. We have 46 signed up. Please, if you have not signed up, please go ahead and sign up. On a similar note, the fund committee is reconvening. One of the things we learned from our survey was that we all miss having fun. And so we're going to try to do more having fun. The scholarship committee needs readers. If you would reach out to Steve English. Is Steve here? There's Steve. There he is. Stand up, Steve, so everybody can see you. That's the guy. You need to be in touch. If you're a reader for scholarships, please make a connection. The May 20 Fun Day Committee, Coach Joe Gaither's back there. Say hi, Joe. That is Zooming tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And again, all the Zoom information is available on our calendar. If you go to the Kiwanis webpage, find the calendar, find tomorrow's date, click on that, you'll see the Zoom link. The KPAD draft team is tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Elks Club. Y'all come, McAvoy's buying drinks. First drinks. First. All right. Little clarifying there. And the fund committee is Zooming next Tuesday at 4. That information again is on the webpage. The officers will meet next Wednesday at 3 o'clock in my office, cocktails to follow. So
Different day than normal.
different day than normal. Normally we do that on Thursday, but we've got to meet on Thursday because of my travel plans. And with that, we are ready for brag bucks. So we have some braggers. So Brockton is a bragger, Stephanie is a bragger, and anybody else, please come up and get in the queue. We have 9 minutes. Not that you all need to take all 9 minutes.
Don't worry, I'll make sure to talk real slow.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I just want to let me step back a little bit. I just wanted to thank you all for the card that you sent me in recognition of the passing of my niece. And also to those that did send text messages, emails, and even phone calls. And for those that did come to her funeral last week. I just wanted to publicly say thank you. And now for my brag. Excuse me, I have to clear my throat because it's going to take me a minute. Glad we got at least another minute. Thank you. This one is a brag on my deacon, the chairman of the deacon ministry at Shiloh Baptist Church. Who doesn't know I'm standing up here, but it's looking at me now. And it is to congratulate Joe, and I hope you all will congratulate him as well. There is a tribute that has been paid to Joe for one of the many inspirations to the Bridges project that Joe is part of, who also serves on the board for Bridges, which is dedicated over 40 years of life molding the lives of many young men in Central and Southwest Virginia. Coach Joe, as we all know him, mentored thousands of youth in basketball and football through the Inner City Athletic Association for over 20 years, as well as won 2 state championships as the head basketball coach of Roanoke Catholic, a private school in Roanoke, as we know. Under Joe's tutelage, hundreds of student athletes went on to receive Division I, II, and III scholarships to play basketball at respective universities. And with that said, 2 former players that Deacon Joe coached and mentored over the years, and you may know them, George Lynch and Curtis Staples, have joined efforts and established the William Joseph Gaither House in the community of Eastern Tennessee, where Curtis Staples serves as the head basketball coach at Lakewood Christian Academy. It's a beautiful home that will house 10 international male students. And the goal is to assist and mentor these young men to make positive life choices and to maximize their personal potential. Join me in congratulating Joe. Thank you.
I'm Michael Brockton. I have the privilege of running KPAD this year. Last week, I stood here and bragged about the creativity of our KPAD leadership team. They're coming up with absolutely terrific ideas for leveraging our partnership with the Spring Craft Show happening on the same date, the same place as KPAD. Well, today I'm bragging about Greg Lionberger. He is volunteered to line up major sponsors for KPAD this year. And he has just lined up the Roanoke Times. They are donating 4 full-page ads that will run during the month preceding KPAD. Outstanding.
Oh, here comes Andre.
Hello, I'm Andre Brooks, and it has been my privilege and my fun to put together this directory for 17 years. Can't remember if this is 17 or 18, but since Manly Adler was president, and it's really been a joy. But I want to brag on the person who does all the work. It's not me, it's John Montgomery. He puts all the information together in this, from the membership list to the committees, all that information, and he sends it to me. I always say, I don't type, send it to me typed, ready to go in. So he puts all that together, and that's the real work. And then when it's finished, he goes through it with a fine-tooth comb, a magnifying glass, proofing it for any errors. He does a fabulous job with that. And I'm not bragging on this person, but the person who makes me put all these little tiny pictures in here, that drives me nuts, runs my eyesight, is JP Taylor.
Thank you. It's great to have a directory. I particularly like the cover.
Did you say that?
I did. I particularly like the cover. Okay. I'm happy. Today's program, Ryan LaFountain will be introduced by J.C. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and this is one show I'm glad to do today. And thanks, Andre, for remembering that. I didn't know you still remembered. I was president when we started that little directory, and it's still going strong. This gentleman today is Ryan LaFountain, who is the Commissioner of Revenue. When Jeannie asked me to get 4 speakers together for the month of March, I thought about Ryan. Him and I, we eat together quite often. And I said, well, you know, when this guy took over last year, everybody knows what was in the news. It was all about the tax, the car tax. And I said, you know what? I said, Ryan, what if I give you an opportunity to come to us and tell us what we can do? So he's going to talk to us today. Ryan, tell you a little bit about him. He started last year as the Commissioner of Revenue, and his mission is to provide taxpayers excellent and impartial information. He hails from, he said, the northern tier of New York. We usually say the Big Apple, so that part's not known as the Big Apple.
No.
That's not the Big Apple. So he didn't want to be there. So he says he's from the northern tier of New York, and he has his degree from Baldwin Wallace College, which is now Baldwin University, Baldwin Wallace University. He has a degree in political science, has a master's degree from Virginia Tech. He's an active member of this club, and he attends Temple Emmanuel of Roanoke. He serves in a number of other organizations. His main mission is to serve the public well. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kiwanis, I want to present to you the Commissioner of Revenue for the city of Roanoke, Virginia.
JC, you know how to make a boy feel special. I'm going to try to bring up my presentation now. Just please bear with me. I know it was working before. I didn't want to leave it up because it's going to kick out. JC asked me to speak and do a presentation on my office. There we go. And I was like, stick a microphone in front of me and get me to run my mouth? Absolutely. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak to all y'all and to whoever may subsequently watch this, as this is permanently kept in the internet, cloud, whatever going forward. And one of the things that JC wanted me to do is try to keep this entertaining, because taxes ain't the most entertaining thing. I know that, you know that. It's numbers and it's laws, and it is what it is. But unfortunately, I forgot my guitar. And you know, the upright piano doesn't really navigate all that well downtown. So I'm going to try to keep this as upbeat and as forward as possible. So as JC mentioned, I am the Commissioner of the Revenue for the City of Roanoke. I was elected in November of 2021. My first day was January 2nd, 2022. What I want to do is just kind of, we'll talk about a little bit about the car assessment thing. I'll kind of explain how that works, what we're looking like for 2023, and just kind of do like a big picture overview. And of course, I can answer questions at the end. I'll be happy to answer questions at the end. So what is the Commissioner of the Revenue? It's all up there in that very, probably you can't read that all that well slide, but there are 20 members of my staff that work within my office. We cover local taxes primarily. We have the car tax, personal property tax that you're going to get a bill for here in the next month and a half, 2 months. And if you're a business owner, you've probably also already, or you should have already gotten your business license renewal or your business personal property returns. We do the meals tax, the trust taxes, where the restaurants collect the money and then file it and remit it to the city. And we also have the real estate tax relief programs for our veterans and for the elderly and disabled. Those are also housed within my office. And we also work with taxpayers for state income tax filing assistance. So that's kind of the big picture view. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know, and sometimes when they come in from out of state, don't understand about how the city of Roanoke can generate income for itself, is that we are forbidden by the state constitution to impose an income tax. I lived in Ohio for a good chunk of my life, and when I lived in the Cleveland area, the Regional Income Tax Authority, I think it was called RITA, for Greater Cleveland, assessed a 1% income tax, and that helped finance, you know, the running of Cuyahoga County. That's not something that localities can do in Virginia. So we resort to things like the real estate tax or your personal property tax and other mechanisms that help keep the lights on, keep the city working. So in the beginning of the colony of Virginia in 1619, the role of Commissioner of the Revenue didn't exist. The primary way that taxes were levied and collected was by operation of the locality sheriff. That ended up evolving into a commissioners of tax, which, depending on where you lived, there would be 2 or 3 commissioners. They would go out and go door to door to assess and value your property, and then say, this is what you owe. You owe 2 shillings 6 pence or whatever at that time. During the Revolutionary era, the General Assembly established the position of Commissioner of the Revenue within Constitution, and then our localities had that, counties, and later on independent cities. The Commissioner's office got to end up having a fixed term of 2 years. That has changed to 4 years now. And there was a period of time at the beginning of the 20th century where we were appointed by courts and not elected by the people. We are elected by the city that we seek to represent and seek to serve. I'm lucky enough to have a fellow commissioner here with Nancy Horn in the audience. And I think our presence and being directly accountable to the people that we serve helps us make better decisions if we're willing to be resilient against the pressure that can come from that. That's an editorial. You know, if you don't want to listen to that, just go blah, blah, blah. It's cool. So the functions of my office, we assess taxes. We don't collect taxes. That's the treasurer's office. So we will assess your personal property tax, your car tax, pickup trucks, boats, RVs, motorcycles. If you own business, you have to pay tax on the assets owned by that business. And there's going to be a pretty big asterisk next to that because it depends on what type of asset that you own. We handle business licenses. You are assessed a fee or a tax based upon the gross receipts of your business, which is not your net income, but what you get in before anything's paid out, what you receive for the rendition of your services. We administer the trust taxes like your meals tax, your admissions tax. There's a short-term rental tax where if you have a company that rents out equipment for less than 90 days, that's subject to taxation. And then, of course, transient occupancy tax, your hotel tax, that also gets administered by us. We assess the tax once they report their information to us, and then they pay the treasurer. And then the last thing, the real estate tax relief programs, the tax freeze programs for our elderly and disabled, and our full tax relief programs for veterans. The real estate, I'll go into this a little more detail in a few slides, but I think one of the unsung benefits of being in Virginia is that we are able to offer this real estate relief program for our veterans and then also for people who are elderly and disabled. It is income and net worth contingent, but for people who own their homes and don't necessarily have as strong means as others do, this helps relieve the burden of taxation from that bit. We'll get to that in a second. So the vision for the office is that we are a window to the city. We collect information and provide information to the extent that we're legally allowed to city administration and to the citizens. We work with the treasurer's office, the Office of Real Estate Valuation, the finance department, and members of council to give them guidance as to what we're seeing in terms of tax revenue, and the tax revenue that my office sees and deals with. We work with the city administration to develop forecasts and to help guide city decisions, ideally, on what they can do with that money, or how much money they're going to be having to work with. And then we provide direct customer service. You know, we get phone calls all the time from the people working the front line, dealing with people who are coming in to report that they've purchased a vehicle and they need to get added onto their tax bill, all the way to me. I field phone calls from taxpayers all day long, and I'm happy to. I love that aspect of the job, working with taxpayers directly and trying to help them. And that's the ethic that I think really shines within this office, is that we are here to assist and to serve, even if not everyone understands how or why we do that. So personal property tax is the fun one. According to the Commonwealth of Virginia, all property is subject to taxation. State code restricts that further. There are certain types of property that can get taxed at certain rates, and they're broken down into all different classes. The city primarily taxes mode of transportation. So cars, pickup trucks, motorcycles, boats, RVs, all that stuff. That's the most common taxes people pay in the city. And in the city of Roanoke, the rate that's established is 3.45%. So every year, you'll get a bill from the city stating what the value is of your vehicle. And then the amount of tax is 3.45% of that value. And we collect those values every year. That's the function of my office. We collect those values from various sources. We use the NADA to get values for cars and pickup trucks. If you feel like that the value that we've obtained for your vehicle isn't correct, because maybe the vehicle's a clunker and maybe it requires some work, you can dispute that with us and we can review and make adjustments as necessary. Primarily what we do is with the NADA, we use a clean loan value. NADA provides 5 different types of values for vehicles in their book. There's clean retail, clean loan, average retail, rough retail, and rough, no, it's more than 5. I'm sorry. There's rough trade and clean trade. So it might be 7. But we use the clean loan value instead of a clean retail value. A clean retail value implies that this vehicle that's being assigned this value has been immaculately maintained. And let's be honest, we love our cars, but sometimes we love them a little too much. They get used, they get worn out, and they experience wear and tear. So we use this clean trade value because on average, it brings the value down from that clean retail value 15 to 25%, depending on the type of vehicle. So we take that value and we say, all right, this is what this value's worth, what this vehicle's worth. You're going to pay a tax at a rate of 3.45% on that value. Asterisk. Virginia has personal property tax relief. Back in the late 1990s, I believe it was Governor Jim Gilmore campaigned for governor against, I think Mark Warner in 98 when he, I don't remember, but Jim Gilmore won. And one of his campaign promises was to eliminate the car tax. They kind of got there, but also kind of didn't. There ended up being a recession after the dot-com bust in 2000, 2001 and September 11th. And car tax ended up being only partially repealed. The state provides localities what is in effect a grant based on certain sums of money that were held in 2005 and 2006. And this money is divided amongst localities based upon the values of the vehicles in locality and the net tax levy. And we have to work with finance to estimate what that net tax levy is. The value of the vehicle under $20,000 is eligible for relief. So say you got a car worth $30,000, the first $20,000 of that vehicle, which would be taxed at $690, would be eligible for relief. So say that your $30,000 vehicle got $690 in tax that you owe, the tax relief ratio that was established for that year is 50%. You would only be on the hook for $345 of that tax. The state, in effect, would cover the remaining $345, and then that remaining $10,000 of value, you're on the hook for the full $10,000, so 3.45% there as well. So you end up owing net $690 instead of $1,035 in tax. It is immensely confusing. Were I not a citizen of Virginia, I'd be like, what the hell are y'all doing? But it is what we have. And that's where, again, we work, my office works with administration and city council to help them to see what we're seeing coming down the pike. This year, I know JC mentioned there was big talk about car values last year, and there was a massive spike in car values across the board last year. Depending on the type of car, your value went up between 20 and 80%. And this wasn't because I said so. Would that it were? Different situation, but wasn't. There was a shortage of vehicle, computer chips and components used in the production of new vehicles. So there weren't as many new vehicles available for purchase. People who had been buying new vehicles, ended up buying used vehicles. And that created excess demand that the market wasn't ready to handle. So we just have this fixed supply, but more people are asking for it. So people are selling can say, well, I got this guy here and this guy here. They're going to pay me either 32, 33. You got 34. I'll take 34 for this car. And that's what drove that. Everyone liked talking about supply chain issues. This was a perfect example of what a supply chain disruption will do to a market. Now that we have more new cars being produced, that has taken the pressure off the market. So we're seeing kind of a reversion back to the norm. Overall, used car values are down between 15 and 25% from last year. So what this will translate to, generally speaking, is if you have the same car this year for taxation as you did last year, net, you should be paying less. And again, should asterisk, because, you know, all other things being equal, you should. If you have a special car that for whatever reason was in super high demand last year, going into this year, may not be the case. In late 2022, City Council passed an ordinance authorizing my office and the Treasurer's office to work together to refund part of y'all's, part of the personal property tax that you paid if you did pay. That's something that we worked really, really hard on, and really grateful to have worked with city administration to make that work, to make sure that that burden was at least alleviated for some people when we were able to do so. So last year, we assessed over 105,000 vehicles in the city of Roanoke that were owned by individuals. This isn't even talking about vehicles that are owned by large companies that maintain a fleet of vehicles. The overall value of those vehicles was over $875 million on 105,000 vehicles, which generated a tax levy of over $27 million. And out of that, almost $10.4 million was granted in personal property tax relief on the state side of the equation. That's not counting the subsequent relief that we did through the refunds. Business licensing. The other big thing that the office does, we work with multiple city departments to ensure that we're able to have businesses operate in the city. The Commissioner of the Revenue's office is the tax side of that. We work with zoning and building for new businesses to ensure that they're up to spec and able to get their business licenses issued. If everything's good, we will issue a business license. They'll either have to pay a fee based on if they expect their gross receipts to be under $100,000, $50, or if they expect their gross receipts to be in excess of $100,000, they'll have to pay it based on a tax rate. And that goes forward. So if you continue operation and you still have less than $100,000 in gross receipts the next year, $50, otherwise you get bumped to a tax rate. Excuse me. And there are various rates depending on the business activity that you carry. That's all defined within city code. So last year we issued 8,622 business licenses, which netted a levy of over $16 million. And this is only the amount that was levied. That's not necessarily the amount that was collected. Again, that's information on the treasurer's side that that she collects. Real estate tax relief is, again, one of the great things I think that we offer to people tax-wise. So if you qualify for a program, if you are over the age of 65, or if you're disabled and you are totally and completely disabled, you can qualify for this relief if you have a primary residence within the city of Roanoke. That means you cannot be splitting time between here and over in the county down Cave Spring, or wherever you may be. Within the city, the combined gross income of the household can't exceed $42,000. And then there are further exclusions if you have multiple people living in the household that are family members. And if you're disabled, there are additional exclusions of income. So the first $7,500 is not counted for that either. The net worth of the household can't exceed $160,000, which excludes the value of the home, because if the limit was $160,000, the house would eat most of that, if not all of that. And the first acre. So the value of that property is, plus that first acre, is taken out of your net worth calculation. This is something that's been, the program's been ongoing within the city of Roanoke since the late 90s. These criteria have been enforced since, I believe, 2009. And that's where we are there. So if you need to know, if you want to find out if you can qualify, feel free to call the office, 853-2523. The deadline for application is May 31st. That's something that we recently changed, owing to a few changes that happened working with the city. We will provide notices for people who are already on the program that you do have to submit annual either affidavits for continuing in the program, or do a new application. That has to be done once every 3 years for full application. So we can re-verify that financially everything remains the same. So last year, everything, all vehicles that we assessed, almost 125,000 vehicles, valued at over $1 billion, which ended up generating over $45 million in tax levy. That's including business vehicles. Last year, $16 million in business license taxation was levied on over 8,600 business licenses. And then last year, we had 570 total individuals qualify for the disabled and elderly tax relief program, which ended up abating about $96,000 in taxes. We want to encourage as many people to participate in this program as possible. Again, this is something that I believe is a real benefit to living within the city. And again, within Virginia generally, because most localities offer this program. And y'all can, again, reach out to my office, speak to me individually if there are any questions that you have on that. And then that's Marcy, that's my dog. I always include a slide, a little about me. For those y'all, I know a few of y'all are friends on Facebook with me. I do post pictures every now and then with humorous things. So I'm a native of the northern tier of New York. JC said that is not Big Apple territory. Growing up on the border of Quebec and Vermont on Lake Champlain, second to Roanoke Valley as the most beautiful place on earth. I've lived in the New River and Roanoke valleys for, that's actually wrong, that I've been here for 12 years. My background is in credit unions. I worked for credit unions for 14 years before I decided to take this crazy leap and going into public service. Worked in consumer lending and real estate lending. Worked with both vehicle values and home values a lot. I just graduated last year with my master's in business administration from Virginia Tech. And I'm incredibly happy to be able to serve the people of Roanoke. And I'm incredibly grateful for having been given this opportunity to talk and hopefully educate y'all and not bore y'all to death. And I'm open to any questions if we have any time. And those are my direct bits of contact information. Ryan.lafountain@roanokeva.gov and 540-853-5256, direct line to my office. Thank you. Done. Enterprise zones? I believe that falls within real estate. Real estate's actually no longer within my office. Real estate's with the Director of Real Estate Valuation, Susan Lauer's office. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Are you saying that you have 4 vehicles?
Yeah, I mean, you'll have people who own multiple. I own a car and an old beat up truck, but I have 2 vehicles.
Repeat the question.
He asked, do we have more vehicles than people within the city of Roanoke? Yes, sir.
I may have missed it. State tax, everybody had a chance to get a review.
Yep.
Should have done mine up, I had a review.
Mhm.
3 days later, like you said, everybody was up 13%.
Right.
Did I do right?
Repeat that question. So you wanted to know if he did right by not contesting his real estate valuation. He got the reassessment notice. Real estate assessment falls within the Department of Real Estate Valuation. That's outside of my purview. And you're right. I mean, everywhere went up within the city. It depended on where you are. I live in the West End, so down Chapman. My assessment this year versus last year went up, I think, 9%. So it's going to depend on the neighborhood that you're in. If everywhere went up, I mean, that's a function of what market conditions are. Just like with cars, there's been an increased demand in real estate. People, trying to trade on a thin supply. That is what it is, and we'll see how that unwinds if it does. But again, that's not my bailiwick.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about what it's been a process. Again, that's not my bailiwick. That's within the Director of Real Estate Valuations bailiwick, based on my understanding and following the market. Personally, that's within reason. Like,
Brian, what's on the horizon?
what's on the horizon? I see a sun. So that's a very broad question. How do you mean?
So the next couple of years, what changes?
I expect again a reversion back to the mean of what life was pre-pandemic in terms of supply and demand issues. We're already seeing that with vehicles. Demand on used vehicles has slacked substantially over end of 2021, beginning of 2022, which is, as a result, we're seeing a drop in used vehicle values. I fully expect, again, this is me speaking as an observer of the real estate market and not as someone who does this professionally, because I don't, that again, as Director of Real Estate Valuation, I expect that the same is going to happen with real estate, especially with interest rates going up. It becomes more expensive to borrow money. We were practically lighting money on fire for 2 years and then saying, hey, borrow. It's cheap, almost free, but not anymore. So.
I have a question, Ryan.
Jason.
I do have family in the city, but I guess my question is, I heard you say you could appeal a value.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do it in real estate, but I'm not sure how to do it for an automobile. So if you have an automobile sitting in the backyard with transmission out, how do you prove it to get the tax money? How do you prove it? I mean, and also you said that some people take care of the car, clean them up, keep them waxed and everything, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have one of those cars you don't keep clean like the other guy, how do you prove you?
That's why we use the clean loan value instead of clean retail. And for your car that's on cinder blocks, send pictures and we'll be like, that thing might be worth $225 to someone.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So let's bring some pictures. Well,
Yeah,
I got
whatever.
like that. I can tell them. I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah, John.
Brian, you've been a member for roughly a year now and
Yeah.
active in several levels, but share with the group your previous involvement with the Kiwanis family growing up.
Oh yes. So I came in already knowing what Kiwanis was. When Stephanie invited me to be a member of the club, I met with her in my office. This was like maybe a month or two after I started. I was telling her, yeah, I used to be, when I was in high school, I was in Key Club and I was president and I was treasurer. I was in Builders Club in middle school and I did a little bit of Circle K in college, dabbled in Circle K, like we all do. I don't think that landed, I'm sorry. But yeah, I have I don't know if rich is the right word, but I had a history within the Kiwanis family prior to coming on. When I grew up, I was involved, via the Key Club with my local Kiwanis club, the Rouse's Point Champlain Kiwanis Club. We did cleanups and literacy volunteers, just a bunch of amazing fun things that got me geared in as to what Kiwanis did and made me excited to have this life of service.
Thank you, Ryan. As you know, it's our custom to provide an honorarium, and this week it goes to WVTF Radio. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Good job. I can't say that I dabbled in Kiwanis or in Circle K when I was dabbling in a lot of stuff. Oh, and here's a request for the rubber chicken. As you know, on this weekend, Doctors Hartman Collective are making a presentation and the chickens are involved. And there is a rumor that Don Witt will make an appearance as a chicken. The cards, where are the cards? I want to be sure and track those down. The greeting cards. Do we know where they are?
Are they yours? Andy, do you have them?
Andy, do you have the cards? Oh, no, thank you. I just need to know where they are. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Right on it, right on it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you, Andy.
What I'm doing.
Pretty good. Did you sign? The HDMI cable was pretty.
Apparently so.